Data relied on by NEFIT, its modelling code as well as international evidence relied upon in making its recommendations should be published in full and a peer review commissioned. The purpose of this is not in any way to undermine NEFIT, but NEFIT is about science, and we're told this is all about science. But the essence of science, be it the establishment of a vaccine or be it a modelling code, is peer review. And I mean, the editor of Lancet came out with, I think, quite an interesting tweet with regard to some of the very recent developments, which could herald very good news, but until they're peer-reviewed, with regard to vaccines, but until it's peer-reviewed, we don't know. Minister Donnelly mentioned testing throughout and an advancement in testing, and I welcome that. However, he limited his comments to PCR testing, and in that regard, and I appreciate that, you know, even a Minister for Health hasn't an endless amount of time to read everything, but there is a new document that was being considered by the European leaders today, so I don't know what the outcome of it was. Perhaps you'll be able to find out from the Taoiseach regarding a Commission recommendation around rapid antigen testing. PCR testing is the gold standard recommended by the WHO. Everybody accepts that, but it has frailties. Many frailties. Now, it may be that it may be the best type of testing there is, notwithstanding those frailties, but one of the frailties is its expense and the time it takes. It's very expensive and it takes a lot of time, and there is a role, it seems to be acknowledged, there is a role for rapid antigen testing, in particular perhaps in seeking to open up our aviation sector, which, you know, on which we're uniquely reliant in Ireland, and I look forward to the government expanding on that in conjunction with its with other European member states. Minister, I'd like to welcome the fact that both you and Minister Donnelly have said that you're looking at how answers will be given to families. Obviously, the committee has come to a very clear recommendation that a statutory inquiry is the way to do that. If there's another way to do it, we're not aware of it, but if there is, well and good. But I think we're all agreed that they need answers, and not at some indefinite point in the future. They do need answers, they deserve answers around that. The committee also had a recommendation around an inquiry into meat plants, and notwithstanding Deputy Owen Murphy's comments about the frailties of an inquiry, I'm a little bit disappointed by the lack of any sort of movement towards looking at what happened, because what happened in meat plants wasn't, in some respects, very different to what happened in the rest of Europe, in that there was a lot of outbreaks in meat plants. But we also learned that workers in Ireland in meat plants are uniquely vulnerable, and they're made uniquely vulnerable by the work permit system under which they operate. They effectively work in conditions of bonded labour. That's wrong. That needs to be addressed. Farmers were also treated very badly at the time by meat plants. It's not unusual for farmers. I'm a farmer myself, I should declare that. They're used to being treated badly by meat plants, but that doesn't mean it's right. It's wrong, and it needs to stop at some point. If the mortality rate in Ireland is approximately what it was this time last year, then 3,800 people will have died during the duration of this lockdown. Now, that's 3,800 people who may have died without seeing loved ones. So there are people who are not going to get a chance to say goodbye, and then people die unexpectedly. But how awful to not have seen a parent in the last month, or a sibling, or a loved one. You know, we do need to reflect on that. We do need to maintain perspective. We do need to maintain our humanity. Various colleagues referred to the wind-up of the committee, and I think it would be remiss of me not to say that it wasn't that the committee decided, we're a bit sick of this, we'll wind up. It was wound up by motion of the Dáil that the government put down. But, you know, that's democracy. We live in a democracy, and it's a great privilege to live in a democracy. One must accept the decisions of the majority, but it's a privilege that maybe we can't take for granted. You know, as I would agree with Deputy Ryan that, you know, we can't talk about a new normal. The basic right to liberty, to live in a democracy, all of these are important and can't be forgotten about, and we do need to make sure that in our response that we don't somehow fail to value what is truly important to us.